Buddhism brings with it some concepts that are new to most of us here in the West. We get it that Buddha was a human, like we are, who managed to enlighten himself. And his method, how he did it, is called the Dharma. And Bodhisattvas are those of us that are on their way to becoming a Buddha. But what about that other and more mysterious term, Bodhicitta? What's that? It's true that Bodhicitta is one of the more subtle of the Buddhist concepts. It's often difficult for beginners to grasp, and yet at the same time is repeatedly said to be the most important in practice. And I don't claim to know that much about Bodhicitta, but I do know that it's crucial for each of us to understand at least something about what it involves. The Sanskrit word bodhicitta translates to something like enlightenment mind or heart of enlightenment. And it's a dynamic rather than a static state. So perhaps a better translation is a, quote, mind that strives for enlightenment for all beings, end quote. There is a compulsive element to the concept that's key here. Strong bodhicitta is a ceaseless and one-pointed striving to benefit others, a permanent attitude. My favorite translation for the word bodhicitta is enlightenment heart, or enlightened heart. We usually speak of the mind being, it's the mind that's enlightened, but the heart also must be enlightened. Bodhicitta is the heart center of enlightenment. It grasps us at the heart level, and it drives us to help realize enlightenment for all beings, including ourselves. Bodhicitta is the deep urge to help others realize what they already are. And bodhicitta is another of those concepts that, like recognition of the mind's true nature, we can only guess at what it means. Initially, we have no direct knowledge of what bodhicitta is like until it someday dawns on us. So there's a bit of a vicious circle here, or cycle. Of course, we read about it, we hear it spoken of in teachings, and we do our best to get a sounds-like idea, of it going in our own mind. But beyond that, the simple truth is that we just don't know that much about bodhicitta, at least when we first start out. One thing we can know is that all of the great Dharma teachers place bodhicitta at the tip of the top of what we each need for enlightenment. So we can't just ignore the term. The great Lama Bokar Rinpoche, in my opinion, said it best, and I quote, "Bodhicitta is the electricity of spiritual practice. If it's cut, nothing works anymore. Animated with bodhicitta, all ordinary activity, all works in the world become a path to awakening," end quote. So bodhicitta is more of a drive or a compulsion for enlightenment, not just for ourselves, but of course primarily for everyone else as well. We can make a patchwork idea up of ideas as to what bodhicitta is, but the truth of it is that those ideas don't add up to actually experiencing it. In this case, indeed, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Anything that we could put together in our head. So how then do we get it? In my understanding, bodhicitta is a direct result of the gradual process of detachment and the ensuing rise of compassion. Bodhicitta is a fruition practice, not something we have in the beginning, or not much of. And it seems that the arising of bodhicitta is also a natural result of what is called recognition, which is glimpsing the true nature of the mind and it's a quite advanced realization, but not enlightenment. Rather than frustratingly attempt to generate bodhicitta, or pretend compassion, in my opinion, our time is better spent taking what steps we can toward realizing the true nature of the mind. That's the whole point of all practice. However, this typically involves finding a teacher to guide us, learning basic shamatha meditation, and then having our teacher instruct us in vipassana meditation, which is called insight meditation, and finally moving to mahamudra meditation, which eventually involves the pointing out, until we get it, of the true nature of the mind itself. After that, bodhicitta is said to arise of its own accord. This is at least my understanding, probably the quickest and most effective way to achieve true bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is the incandescence building to full flame of the spark of compassion that naturally occurs when we realize that not only do we all have Buddha nature, but all we have to do is remove our obscurations to actualize it. When we realize this, we can't help but be electrified, as Bokar Rinpoche puts it, and driven to share this good news. Indeed, it's the best possible news for all of us. Bodhicitta, once arisen, gets us up in the morning, stays with us through the day, and makes us not want to waste time sleeping at night. It's that idea.